National what?
National Organization of Italian Americans in Film and Television. A long
Nice to
name.
meet you.
Nice to meet you. How you doing, Alex?
I'm good. I'm very honored to meet the National
Organization
for Italian Americans
in Film and Television.
in film and television.
So, you were in the Swedish Army, is that right?
The Navy, yeah.
The Navy.
Yeah.
So, how did your experiences there bring to this role here?
Well, I play a sergeant in this, and I'm a sergeant in the Navy in Sweden. So I think that helped a little.
I think so.
Yeah. Well, I think it's. I learned a lot about camaraderie, working together as a group, and that bond that's formed between yourself and the other soldiers in the unit. How incredibly strong that is. It's I've never experienced that anywhere else. Where and I was in Sweden. We haven't. Our last war was like 200 years ago. So I didn't. I was never deployed. I didn't go to war, and that obviously makes that bond even stronger when you're out there and literally, you know, you have to kind of protect the guy like that. And when you're willing to sacrifice your life for your brothers, and naturally that creates a very, very strong bond, and you feel like they got your back and they would take a bullet for you. And so it's that dynamic and that relationship that is incredibly strong. And that was something that was, it's interesting in this film where these guys, the soldiers, when Deeks, my character, shows up, he is so much more experienced than they are. He's done 3 tours in Afghanistan, in Iraq. He's been out. These guys are so green when they show up, or when he shows up. It's their first deployment. They're young, so they look up to him as a leader, and it's easier for him to morally corrupt these young guys and into believing that his way of thinking, which is horrific, he murders civilians, he can justify it to himself and to these guys, because in his mind they're all collaborators, they're all in on it. Even if they're not holding an AK-47 or a grenade, all civilians are basically bad guys. And he can successfully convince some of the guys that that's the case, and that what they're doing is fair.
So now this was at first a documentary. Did you have any apprehensions making this into a feature film? Do you think that the narrative now elevates that documentary?
I didn't hesitate at all. I know that, I saw the documentary. I met with Dan, the filmmaker. His intention, he wanted to explore this further and tell this, make a fictional movie about these incidents, and it was just such an incredible opportunity for me, because it's a fascinating story. It's heartbreaking. It's horrific, and such an interesting character. I thought, and the dynamic between him and his soldiers is so fascinating. How he kind of oscillates between the guys, and it's almost like a love story and a love triangle, jealousy between the guys, like who gets his attention, and they all want to impress him and kind of win his respect, and that means that they kind of sacrifice their own morality and they do stuff that they would regret for the rest of their lives.
Now with war dramas, I find that a lot of the times editing plays like a huge role in them, and in your performance in Big Little Lies, I felt like the editing really brought to light what your character really is. Do you feel that like editing in this film really changes the performance?
Well, you kind of make a movie 3 times. That the saying that you make it once when you write the screenplay, and then the second time when you shoot it, and then the third time when you edit it, because you can tell when you have the footage there's obviously like 1,000 different ways you can tell that story and cut it together. And what do you want to focus on? Like, where do you cut out? How do you shape it? So it's a huge part of it. And it was nice because I got to, as an actor, you often shoot the movie and then you show up on the red carpet and you're not part of the editing process because your job is done when you wrap the movie. But it was really, Dan kind of included me and let me come in and watch a couple of early cuts, and we had a couple of conversations about stuff, and that was, I'm very grateful for that. That was really nice.
That's amazing, and thank you so much for your time. It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you for taking all the time. Nice to meet you.